Welcome everybody to Lawyers Happy Hour, the monthly meeting where, well, you guessed it, lawyers, law students, and legal vendors get together to talk about what's going on in the legal profession. And this month we have Peter Colwell, who is a speaker and an author, and he is going to be sharing with us today just a short 10 to 15 minute presentation on the ABCs of motivation. He also has a book coming out about turning downswings and upswings. He's going to get that right for you in just a minute after I admit one more person to the party. We don't want to leave anybody out in the cold or out in the heat, as the case may be. And I'm going to go ahead and again, welcome everybody. Thank everybody for being loyal members of the Lawyers Networking Happy Hour. And introduce again Peter Colwell, who is a professional speaker and also a real estate veteran. He's been in the real estate industry for many years, which overlaps quite a bit with the legal industry. So we have a good expertise there as well. So we're going to go ahead and let him have the floor for some time, and we'll save Q&A until the end. Also, those of you who are joining us live, please put your LinkedIn or email addresses in the chat so that we can stay connected. And without further ado, I'm going to pin Peter and give him the floor.
Thanks, Daya. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to join your happy hour virtually today. Thank you very much. And I was thinking to myself, as you were saying, what is the subtitle? Because I've been working on this book off and on for 15 years, mostly off, raising a family and having a day job, and then also moonlighting and creating my aspirational ventures. But I've been working on a book called Invest in Your Attitude, Creating Upswings During Downturns. And actually, most of what I have written over the last 15 years has really changed. When the rubber met the road and I started working with an editor, I realized that I really wanted to focus more on some of the motivational poetry that I had written during the pandemic, which I know it's not really past tense. I'm speaking as if it's a thing of the past, but we're moving slowly but surely out of that. And then also interviewing several people, colleagues that I've worked with over the years who have inspired me and who I've collaborated with. So today, real quickly, I'd like to share with you what I call the ABCs of motivation. Boiling down a lot of what I've learned and applied over the last 20, 25 years. I'm in my mid 40s now. So pretty much after graduating from Georgetown University, figuring out how to boil down into 9 principles, the ABCs of motivation. So we'll start with ABC, adversity builds character. Raise your hand if you've ever been through a character building experience. Sure, I'm sure everyone else is raising their hand too. And then we get to work and we have more character building experiences. That just trying to balance our personal and professional lives, trying to make it all come together can be a real challenge. And certainly for me, I know the last 16 to 18 months has felt like a lifetime, not just because of the pandemic, but everything that I have been going through in my personal life. I had been with one company for 18 years. A corporate real estate firm, and I thought, man, I'm going to be there 20, 25 years. I'm going to get that gold watch, or I'm going to retire one day from that company. And then things changed. And this was 7 or 8 months before the pandemic. So it had nothing to do with that. It's just shifts that were going on at higher levels. And I was told that I had about 7.5 months that I could remain and get my target bonus, which was a wonderful thing, really. And then it gave me a chance to look for the new job. Unfortunately, when you have that much time, 6 months becomes 5 months, 5 becomes 4, and then you wonder when to start interviewing, and the holidays come around, and before I know it, it's January of 2020, and then I've got to really look for that job. February of 2020, I interviewed for a position with a competitor, got the job, and my first day on the job was March 16th, 2020. So if you look at pretty much any CDC chart or World Health Organization, you can see that it's pretty much on that day that the pandemic just kind of went into full swing here. So imagine leaving the comfort of one job, starting a brand new one on a Monday, and the world goes into lockdown. The nation goes into lockdown. And being in property management, commercial real estate, I had to wear the mask and go in every day. So just a little bit of anxiety, a whole bunch. And so that time really did really test myself and my family. But that was just the beginning. I started to realize that this wasn't really a good fit. And about 5 months into it, I thought about possibly making a change. My mom was then diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and I realized that time was of the essence. I left the job during the pandemic. Don't recommend it, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And I spent 2 quality months with my mom before she passed away. And looking back, I would not change a thing. We're all going to go through tough times. And when we do, we can choose our response to any circumstance. We can choose humor when possible. We can choose optimism to find that ray of hope. We can choose gratitude to focus on the haves, not what we're lacking or what's not going well, but focusing on what's working. And we can choose compassion, kindness towards ourselves, letting ourselves off the hook, and also putting ourselves into other people's shoes. So adversity really does build our character. My mom passed away peacefully, and I'm so glad that I was able to be there in those final moments. The DEF in this ABCs of motivation is dreams eventually flourish. Many years ago, in 1998, I graduated from the Dale Carnegie course in effective speaking and human relations. 23 years old, I was the youngest person in the room, and actually I felt a little bit intimidated. I was not afraid of public speaking, but a little bit nervous about it. And I just wanted to get out of my shell and to build confidence. And so that's what I did. I took the course, a 12-week course, and it really changed my life. I overcame those barriers. I started to build self-confidence and create a vision for my future. At that point, I said, someday I would love to become a Dale Carnegie instructor. I knew it would be a challenge, but it was a dream in my heart. And for a while, I thought maybe it was just a dream. I came back as a graduate assistant for 5, 6, 7, 8 different times, where you don't get paid, but you get the experience of assisting the instructor. And when I was about 40 years old, I came back for a morning refresher with Dale Carnegie, and I came back as a graduate assistant again. At that time, someone said, you'd make a great instructor. Well, little did they know, for 15 years, I've been harboring and holding on to this dream of being an instructor. So I went for it. I said, why not? Let's go for it. 100 hours of training later, I became a certified instructor of the Dale Carnegie course. As an avocational trainer, in addition to my day job, I have the joy of helping people of all ages to build their self-confidence, to overcome worry and stress, and to improve their interpersonal skills. I want to share with you one of the poems that I wrote during the pandemic, and it was inspired by this dreams eventually flourish. If you want your dreams to finally awaken, you must move ahead with belief unshaken, resolving not to be mistaken, thinking your destinies forsaken. Instead, march ahead to the beat of your drum, faithfully following the sweet little hum of a yearning that is burning inside your soul, a feat you must complete to make you whole. The future belongs to the dreamers who do, to those who maintain a positive view. Relentless and dogged are traits of the few, whose vision of greatness is bound to come true. Many of your dreams will come to fruition when you boldly follow your intuition, overcoming any opposition to align yourself with your life's true mission. Dreams do eventually flourish. Not all of them come to pass, but if we're willing to put in the time, many of them will. Next on the ABCs is goals have importance. When I was 25 years old, working on my first book, Spell Success in Your Life, I interviewed an 80-year-old gentleman named Dr. Leo Hennigan from Chevy Chase, Maryland. He was a retired physician, and I had met him at a Toastmasters workshop. And I asked him, I said, Dr. Leo, I know you've been through many experiences in your life, many ups, many downs. What advice do you have for someone like me, 25-year-old, still figuring his way out in the world? He said, Peter, I would boil it down to this. You've got to have a goal, a purpose, something that gets you out of bed each morning and keeps you going all day long. And then remember this too, always have another goal in front of you. When you reach a certain level of success in your life and your career, don't become complacent. Always have something in front of you to strive for. And I've always remembered that. My dad, same name, Peter Colwell, was married to my mom for 48 years. They were together for 50 years when she went into hospice last September. And as you can imagine, it's very difficult for him to live without the love of his life. In fact, I can't even imagine how he's making it through. But one thing he's doing, and I guess I'm the apple falling from the tree, is he's writing poems. And I thought it was great. I wrote 30 poems last year. He's written over 365 poems. So every day he's writing a new one. And over 100 of them are about my mom, about their love for each other. So he has something to keep him going each day. He's living by himself. It's easy to cower and just kind of give up on everything. But he's out there each day, a few days a week, going to the local cafe, writing a poem in the park or in the restaurant at home, and he's going. And I'm committed to self-publishing some of his love poems. But you got to have a goal. You got to have something to keep you going when life gets tough. Next on the alphabet here is JKL, just keep learning. Learn, grow, develop. I say rinse and repeat. No matter what we've accomplished in life, there's always something that we can learn. Sometimes we may look at the title of a book or a workshop and say, oh, I've covered that, or I know everything about that. But there may just be one lesson we can extract, one story, one nugget of wisdom, one quote, something that inspires us to do something different. I have a very good friend named Mike Mathai. We've been friends for several years. He works for a company that does emergency restoration services and property management. And he likes to say that he attends Mobile University because as a business developer in that field, he spends 4 to 5 hours in his truck. And he says he loves it because he listens to Audible. He has an ongoing subscription. He has literally read through his mind so many books that have empowered him. Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, the greats from the past, and all these newer age philosophers. And his mission, his goal is to just keep learning each and every day and to share what he learns with others. And that is a philosophy that certainly has rubbed off on me and inspired me as well. So think about how can you level up? How can you form a mastermind group or share ideas with others, as is happening here, to keep growing and keep learning, no matter what age or what stage we are in life. Next is MNO, is make new opportunities. I spent many years at Jones Lang LaSalle. I started with Spalding and Sly Colliers in commercial real estate property management. And I started as a temp for a day answering phones way back when. I was new to the industry, and slowly but surely started moving up the ranks administratively as an assistant manager. But I really wanted to push through and become a manager. Of course, it doesn't just happen overnight. And I knew that. But I got to a certain point. I had been in the field for about 5 years. And my boss said, decide what you want. What is it that you want to go for, and make it happen? So I had a group of 3 other friends. The 4 of us, we were very tight-knit group together. And the 3 of them had gotten promoted within a period of a few months. And I felt left out. I was the only one left in that corner of the office who hadn't got promoted or hadn't moved on to an opportunity. And I remember one of my friends sending me a card that said that the old adage, when one door closes, another one opens. And I said, well, maybe my opportunity is here, to stay here, this company. Maybe it's not somewhere else. Just assumed if I were going to grow, it had to be somewhere else. Within a matter of months, my boss asked me one day, do you want my job? I said, what? This would be a major promotion, saying yes. I said, let me think about it. Yes. Within a matter of minutes, it was yes. Of course, I knew it was going to entail a lot of growth, a lot of learning, but I knew that I was ready. I knew that I would figure it out. So I made the opportunity and made the most of the opportunity. I became a general manager of warehouses and retail and tried new experiences. And it led me to one day becoming manager of the Homeland Security headquarters. And then one day becoming director of operations for a whole region, all within the same company. These new opportunities came to fruition. Sometimes we can feel like we're at a dead end. We've been at this long stretch and we're not seeing any change or any growth. But if we are willing to keep at it, we can find that that opportunity will come and we'll be ready. Next is practice quiet relaxation. One of the principles that I teach is how to stop worrying and start living. It's a book by Dale Carnegie, along with How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. And there are numerous principles for how to overcome worry and stress. But one of them that really resonates with me, I'd like to share with you, is to cultivate a mental attitude of peace and happiness. And one way we can do that is to, what Dale Carnegie says, is to live in date-tight compartments. Don't worry what's going to happen tomorrow or next week, or maybe we're fretting about a situation that may or may not happen, and we're visualizing in our minds how things might unfold. But let's not worry ourselves too much about that. Let's just live for today. Take our troubles with us to the end of the day and call it a day. And then tomorrow is a brand new day. And who knows, maybe it will turn out much better than we thought. Next is to savor the ups, SGU. I'd like for you to repeat after me the following. Say, I'm ready for an upswing. I know some of you are on mute, but I'm ready for an upswing. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, I'm ready for an upswing. When I say that, I mean ready for a mental upswing, an emotional upswing, physical upswing, or what I'd like is a financial upswing. Absolutely. I took a little bit of a hit back in 2020, which seems like ages ago, and I am ready for an upswing, hoping and praying and visualizing each day. Life is a series of ups and downs. You know, we hear twists and turns, or peaks and valleys. And another poem I have is Envision Better Days, again, written in the trenches last year. When you find yourself pining for a silver lining, but can only see that dark cloud, take stock of what's working, not the dangers out lurking, and speak these bold words loud and proud. Better days are ahead for my family and me. This I declare with certainty. My confidence comes from unshaken belief that God's on our side and will soon send relief. It's a matter of time until things turn around. Until that day comes, keep your feet on the ground. Connect with the earth and all of its beauty. Help those in need. It's our call to duty. Life is a series of valleys and peaks. Peaks can last days and valleys last weeks. Use this time wisely and patiently wait, preparing yourself for a life that is great. So savor the ups. And when you're in a down moment, just say, I'm ready for an upswing. Visualize winning. We're getting to the end of the alphabet here. And I'm not talking about winning the lottery or the jackpot. That would be nice. But winning the day. Good friend, a former roommate of mine at Georgetown, his name is Eric, suffered a stroke at the age of 37. I'm happy to say that he is fully recovered. But he sent a Facebook message not too long after he was in recovery saying, you know what? Before this happened to me, I was worried about so many things that are trivial in life. Now I realize, you know what, guys? It's just about winning the day. It's just about getting over that obstacle that's in front of you and not worrying about, fussing about all these little trifles in life. Just winning the day. See yourself winning. See yourself overcoming any challenge, any hurdle in life. And finally, XYZ, I got creative here. Express your zest. And by zest, I mean enthusiasm. Enthusiasm, Carnegie said, is the little recognized secret of success. If we could add just 10% more enthusiasm, a little more pep in our step, a little more something in our voice, and breathe life. Enthusiasm helps us to breathe life into the ordinary and to transform it. And we can do that by the power of our attitude. So I encourage you all today to invest in your most important asset, your attitude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Let me
Thank you, Dea.
unpin you here so we can go back to our forum. We're still recording.
Sorry if I went over 15 minutes.
No, you're great. I think, yeah, I'd like to keep recording because there are some good questions. There's some questions in this chat. Would you, Betty, would you like to come off mute and actually ask your question? It's up to you.
Sure, I can. Peter,
Yes.
Thank you. I love your focus on the positives. And I think I'm pretty much a pretty positive person most of the time. I'm wondering, how do you respond to others, say friends or family members in particular, I'm thinking about, who are not necessarily of the same personality or whatever you want to call it, but who, who have some rough times that they're going through, and I want to respond the things that you've been saying, let's move through this. This too will pass, things like that. But do you ever get to a feeling where a time where you feel that they don't really think that I'm relating to what they're going through. How do you respond to somebody in that time? You can't just say, shake yourself out of it.
You're right. You're right. I
That
think
might be what you would tell yourself,
certainly. Yeah, and it might not be perceived that way. And sometimes we can tell off the bat that they're not buying what I'm saying, or they're not believing, not that we're trying to sell anything to anyone, but I found that in my very most personal relationships with my children, might be with my sister, or people that I'm very close with, trying to persuade them. And I can just tell maybe they're not in the right frame of mind, or the stress is just overwhelming. And usually it's at times like that where I try, and I've learned, should I say, over the years, because I try and fail, and oh, I guess I give up. But trying to relate in a different way, instead of maybe giving a pep talk or trying to say, hey, here's the best case scenario, and don't want to have rose-colored glasses about the situation, is just try to meet them where they are, and let them do more of the talking, so I can really get a sense of where they are. And it might be something in that conversation that comes out that makes me, okay, there's fear behind this, or there's some anger or uncertainty. And so I think the more that I listen, and that's something I'm constantly working on, but the more that I do that in the conversation, that I start to get clues from what they say and how they say it. Oh, I think I know where they're coming from. This is a hard, what I have to say isn't going to be a quick fix for them. Maybe it's just being more compassionate and, finding a different tone. I don't, there, of course, it's situational. So there's no one quick fix, but
No,
I think meeting them where they are, or at least attempting to find that common ground, is helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Any other comments or questions?
Brandon, will you come off mute?
Yeah,
Hey,
I was
Brandon.
just, hi, nice to meet you. I'm impressed with your poem writing, if I'm being completely honest. I just want to kind of know, like, your process around that. Like, I mean, when you are writing these, is it more of a, you find a topic and want to write a poem, or is it just something where you get into, I mean, it seems like it really does help your workout and portray your message. It's another way to kind of connect with people who may, for somebody like me who appreciates such obviously the work you put into it and the craft of it itself. So yeah, if you just wouldn't mind, I mean, I just think they're great.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting you say that, because I was thinking maybe at some point, to not do a workshop around it, see if there's interest, but maybe if I get like my dad and do hundreds and hundreds of these, there is kind of a process that, or should I say a pattern, in terms of the structure, where I focus on rhymes, rhythms, and beats, and to really get kind of a rhythm to it. And but as far as how they come to me, some of this has been through the grief of losing my mom. I wrote a book called Bank of Memories, and so really some of it comes from just being in that moment, listening to some music sometimes helps me to kind of get in that groove. While a lot of these are perfectly relatable to the pandemic, some were written before that and had to do with some of as I knew that this big change was coming in my career. Like one I wrote was called The Winds of Change. And while it could be relatable to a lot of different reasons, for me, it was, wow, this big change is about to come, and some change is fun and some is not fair. I do like to try to use alliteration and some other devices to make it catchy and everything. And most of my poems tend to rhyme and everything. But I found it seems to be a new emerging gift I didn't really realize I had until the last year or so. And I will say one thing, I did hire a creative emergence coach, a friend of mine for 20 years. We met in Toastmasters in '98, came to our wedding, and we've been friends all these years. Her name is Michelle James, and she helps people figure out what's next in their life. I hired her, and I do have to give her credit. As I was getting ready to go into this 2020 new year of whatever might come. And part of the creative process is she had me do some paintings, not very good at, but it was more just to create. And then I started to write a couple of poems. And then she said, that's really good. Your next assignment is to write 2 more. And before I knew it, I had sort of a little treasury of poems. And so I think that process helped because I also combined meditation with it. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, no, it definitely sounds, they sound
inspiration,
genuine.
meditation.
Yeah.
Give me some
Yeah.
answers.
No, for sure. Yeah, thank you. And it sounds very genuine. It sounds like there's a piece of you personally that are in there, and also to share your message as well. So it sounds like it serves two purposes, which makes it even more impactful, at least to me. Like that's obviously.
Thank you.
But
Thank you. And I will
Yeah.
say, I was inspired to take some of these poems and put them in my book. And my editor, who just finished up the editing process today, this afternoon, and it's been quite a process. He said one thing he noted was that the poems really help one chapter connect to the other. And without them, it might be a fine book, but the poems really were a great addition. Thank you, Brandon.
Bob, you had a question?
Yes, Peter, regarding your creative process, is it you're driving down the highway and get a thought and have to pull over and put your blinkers on?
You know what? You're absolutely right. I believe I did do that one time, not on the highway or anything, but yeah, one time I had this well, I have to say a lot of this was just sort of free flowing during the, March, April, May, June of last year. And then, with my mom, things happening to her. She said something to me about, she was going to try the chemo, even though she was afraid. And then I said, well, your oncologist said there's a ray of hope, that there's a chance. And then right as I said that, she said, you're not going to believe this. I'm looking out into the water, the north end of Boston. And as you said that, a ray of sunshine just went across the water. I'm going to go for the chemo. And then I thought, ray of hope, there's a poem. And then, so once you start getting into these patterns, and I found my dad, since he's doing this almost daily, almost anything you start to hear, like, that could be a poem. Not everything, but yeah, there will be these flashes of, I might go running or jogging, and I'm like, oh, once my mind is cleared up, I start to think of something, and I usually put it in my notes. I've got a lot of, random notes, and then try to go back to it and see if it ties and fits.
Okay, so they're not all, I get a thought and now it's complete 3 hours later. You're going back and forth.
Going back and forth. Some of the poems, though, as I was in the thick of it, really in that high creative process, I remember one time I just pulled into the garage instead of leaving work, and I wrote the poem in typically it was 30 to 45 minutes. But I was so close, I'm like, nope, I'm going to get that fourth stanza. We're knocking this out. And then sometimes it may be like, oh, I'm forcing it. Okay, I'll save the next stanza for tomorrow, because you don't want to force it. But sometimes it would just be free flowing in 30 minutes to an hour. But I wouldn't sit there for hours and hours and hours, because I wanted it to be a fun process and somewhat free flowing.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm very passionate about this. You can tell. It's fun. And it's very helpful, very therapeutic for the spirit.
Good, thank you.
Sure.
Peter, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your soul and your being with us today. And I was going to ask you to put a link to the book in the chat, but the book is still being birthed.
Yep. Labor Day. Fingers crossed for Labor Day. My mom's birthday was September 6th, which happens to be Labor Day. So this has actually been really helping with the whole getting through process too, is having that goal in front of me. So and we're on track.
That's amazing.
But could I send you the link later? Maybe at a future event you can.
Absolutely. We'll go back and put it in the meeting notes. As those of us in our community know, this will go on my YouTube channel, and it'll go back on Meetup.
I will send you. I have a visual of the ABCs. So.
Fabulous. All right, so I'm going to stop recording now, but we're going to continue with the party. If I can find the stop recording.